Welcome, Dan. Great
Thanks,
to have
Tom.
you here today.
Yeah, thank you.
How was the trip up?
Yeah, very easy. London to Manchester, not too bad. Traffic was a breeze. So.
We even got the sun today.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. Look like you've hurt your leg.
I have. I had an operation last Friday, but won't miss it for the world. So here I am.
Brill. Great to have you here. So today we're going to be talking about digital project management platforms.
Correct. Yes.
And I believe you're the expert.
I think I am. Yeah.
Brill. Well, I know you've helped AG out.
Yeah.
Over the past 12 months with a brilliant solution, which we'll get straight into.
Yeah. Perfect.
So before we go any further, Dan, just tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Frame Solutions.
Yeah, so I was a chartered surveyor for a number of years before moving into the software space. So the company's Frame Solutions and our software is called ESTA. We only work with multidisciplinary consultancies, and we've been in this space about 7 years now.
Excellent. Yeah, I think we've known each other for about 15 months now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Time flies, doesn't it?
Yeah, we've been getting along fine.
Yeah.
So for anybody who doesn't know AG, we are a project management and building surveying consultancy. We've got QSs, PMs, building surveyors. But ultimately, we needed a solution to help us with our contract administration.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we're going to touch on the pros and not so many cons.
There
of,
we go.
Digital project management going forward.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it. We do contract administration, project. We call it project delivery now because there's CA, PM, cost stuff in there. It's just sort of a one-stop shop for all your project delivery.
There's a lot to consider these days. Okay, let's get straight into it then.
Perfect.
So Dan, can you tell me a little bit more about Frame Solutions and current challenges we're facing and what might be coming in the future?
Yeah, so the reason the company was set up in the first instance was to help the surveyor or the project manager. There was a lot of mundane tasks happening. And what I mean by that is low value tasks, copy and pasting information, chasing actions, all of those elements that burn the fees, we wanted to take off the table. So a lot of our clients come to us because they want to be more profitable in their projects and they want to give a better client service. So we can offer them like an off-the-shelf portal where you can start delivering this information a lot faster than traditional methods.
Yeah, we've absolutely seen that. We've had lots of issues historically with surveyors using outdated documents which have got errors in formulas or legislation's changed. Which has obviously brought us together in terms of a solution. So yeah, we're absolutely seeing the benefits of that.
Yeah, great. I think what you said there, Tom, is the key point around consistency, especially, a lot of firms, when they start off small in one room, it's quite easy to sort of handle consistency. But as they start to grow and get more offices, how do you can keep that consistent approach? And having sort of a framework and some guardrails really sort of just helps let the surveyor just get on with what the job is rather than worrying about what version we're on or if the formula works, etc.
Absolutely. I think the other challenge that we spotted was the time being taken to pull together cost reports, for example, when requested by the client on a monthly basis. You could be looking at multiple documents, taking, in some instances, the best part of a day to pull together a relatively simple cost report.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? Like, that's just such dead time, dead fees, and fundamentally, like, no one really wants to be doing it. Implementing in a new project management tool, how hard was it? How did you find it?
Relatively easy, to be honest. It had its usual sort of pain points in terms of, changes never sort of initially accepted by employees and staff.
Yeah.
But ultimately, once we'd introed it to them, showed them the benefits, provided the training, got them in the groove of using the software and how it could help them, and ultimately freeing them up to work on the things that they probably wanted to be working on. It was quite easy in the end.
How do your clients access your AG Connect, your digital platform?
Very easily. So our clients could be sat in Liverpool, Manchester, or equally a beach in Barbados. We'd all like to be there. And and literally it's a web portal. So type in the web address, dial into our tailored portal, AG Connect, and then dashboards are set for that specific client, and they can access whatever information they want at whatever time.
Yeah. And I suppose a good question is, how is it done before? So what's the before and after picture on that?
So traditionally, they would pick up the phone, and I may be sat in the office, I may be in a client meeting, I may be on the road, and they may be asking for a report that I ultimately cannot provide until I'm sat back at my desk or laptop. And obviously, always working with clients, trying to speed things, deliver things quickly. But sometimes if you're physically not there, you can't give it to them there and then. So with our current offering, assuming everything is updated, they can dial in at any point in time and have real live cost data.
Yeah. And I suppose from a client's perspective, they generally don't ask for this stuff for fun. They're about to walk into a board meeting, or they've got a meeting with the partners. So it can be a little bit time sensitive. I'm not saying that they're always late on it, but it's generally as these things come up, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's always last minute. Sometimes you may have even issued the information previously, but it's got lost in all the thousands of emails that everyone receives every day, or they've just not saved it down into their internal filing system. Whereas now, all the information can be in one place. Great feature of the platform is actually what we call the Vault. So it's an online data storage facility. So asbestos reports, certification, drawings can all be saved in one place.
Yeah, I mean, how many times do you go back forward on like O&M manuals? Can you send me this? If they can self-serve and do it themselves, takes a lot of pressure off you. And
self-serve is the key word. And that is a real benefit for them and us, because ultimately it saves us time finding those reports, and equally if a job's been completed, we do keep the portal open for a substantial period of time after the job, so they can dial back in, and ultimately staff changes, which inevitably happen on both sides. It saves that call. That's that report.
Not squirreled away in someone's email box that's already left. So what sort of problems did you have in the past that the software now solves?
So 12 months ago, I had a project where the client's team had changed quite significantly. Number of redundancies at the client's organisation, and there were some variations which had been formally instructed by us as contract administrator, but hadn't necessarily been updated on the client's internal system, to the tune of about £100,000. So I spent many weeks discussing this with the client, saying, look, your predecessors had instructed this work, but ultimately, whilst we'd issued our contract instruction, they had no record at their end. So with the platform that we've now got, it does have the facility for the contractor to provide authorisation, the client to provide authorisation, and there is that documented audit trail of any variations on the job. So the problem that I had 12 months ago, we would no longer have with the current system.
Yeah, that's perfect, isn't it? You don't want to be going back and forth with the client and sort of going round and round and round.
Which I was.
It's such a time suck, isn't it? So if you've got that audit trail, just go, here we go. It's easy for everyone, isn't it? And they probably appreciate it as well.
Building Safety Act, big game changer for the industry.
Yes.
The role of the building regulations principal designer, something new that everyone's been getting to grips with over the 12 plus months now. I hear the term golden thread a lot.
Yes.
Can you tell me what your understanding of the golden thread is?
Yeah, so it's a golden thread of information that's easily accessible by multiple parties, in essence, in its core. And it's very difficult to do without a CDE, which is Common Data Environment. So if you have a CDE, multiple people can put into the golden thread, right? Now, ESTA allows you to do that because it gives you that CDE off the shelf. It'll be branded in AG Connect, so all your own branding. And then you can run that without having to keep sending back and forth emails, or you may have a Dropbox or, God forbid, a WeTransfer link. And it gives you just one area to work in where everyone can feed it in. So that was my version of Golden Thread, but how are you using it in practice?
So we are using it on a number of projects at present. We're working on a number of residential HRBs, which are buildings of a residential nature over 18 metres, where we need to set up a Golden Thread, which is essentially a digital file and the history and information for that particular building. So we're using it for that. But a new requirement is also to record changes during the construction process. So the platform's got a change control function, where we can record changes, whether it be changes to kitchens or more significant construction changes, which the building safety regulator may actually want to know about under the new regime.
Right, yeah. So Tom, when it comes to your clients, what are sort of the key benefits that you give them that a traditional way of doing it couldn't sort of provide?
So we can give them a bird's eye view of all the projects, because some of our clients have multiple projects up and down the country, which may form part of a wider portfolio, as well as potentially a single individual project. But yeah, there's a particular benefit for our clients who've got multiple projects on at one go with us. So they can dial into the web portal, see a dashboard, which will include a map of the properties. It will include the vault area for storage of sort of common data information. It's also got a request for information section as well. So if there's any outstanding queries on a particular job from one of the parties, it may be us, it may be the contractor, all the requests for information can be logged in one central place, as well as the financial summaries, which a client would always expect.
Yeah, perfect. I think, a big thing that ESTA delivers, which is quite good, or AG Connect delivers is quite good, is that everything that's happening at grassroots level, so your interim payments, your instructions, expended provisional sums, we can roll that up into the portfolio. So things that are happening at grassroots level, you can say, look guys, this is what's happening across the 50 projects that you've got on with us, and this is exactly how it's going to work. And what's good about it is that we don't do any extra work for the surveyor. So we're just going to pick that information up. Every time you do an interim payment certificate on the software, that goes up, rolls up into the project level and then the portfolio. So they've got a very, very clear understanding of what's happening in those projects, and they can get that sort of live information.
Yeah, and equally, outstanding actions, risk registers, latest programs are all in there. So they have access. They have a 360-degree view of everything that is going on with that individual project, which is great for them and us. Yeah,
that's it. Because fundamentally, that's what we wanted to move away from. In traditional surveying, the surveyor, who's charging £100 an hour, has to keep, updating all of this stuff, grabbing that figure, grabbing that program and putting it in a big Excel, which is in essence out of date the day after he's done it.
Yeah, updating all of that and probably dipping into multiple files, pulling multiple pieces of information from one screen to the other. Sometimes, taking a day out of the diary, which could be utilised in terms of seeing clients or actually getting out there and doing some surveying, which is what we
heaven forbid
is what we're trained up to do.
In terms of AG, what sort of tools do you give surveyors so they can function efficiently?
I think if I cast my mind back to why I wanted to become a surveyor, it was probably the appeal of it not being a 9-to-5 office job. It was going to be a hybrid of some time in the office, but also being out and about, inspecting buildings, being on construction sites, and the variety. So I think what the platform does, it helps my team to get through their office administration tasks a lot quicker. If we look at minutes as an example, the platform has got the ability where the surveyor can probably use our internal administration team to dictate minutes and then ultimately type them up, upload them onto the platform. They're then there for everyone to see, issued sometimes the same day, and it just takes away that pain of the administration that probably no surveyor actually wants to do.
No, I had a call the other day, And someone said, yeah, I was probably spend 2 days a month, 3 days a month chasing actions.
Yeah.
And like, you know, like we said earlier, you go to uni for 4 years or 3 years, you do your APC, which is minimum 2 years. You're now done, you know, 5 or 6 years of training, and then you're chasing people up for actions. Like, you know, that's not why you went there. That's no technical skill in that whatsoever.
No. But also, as the contract administrator, we have quite strict obligations in terms of payments in particular, hitting certain timescales depending on the contract terms. So again, what the platform does is allow the team to process interim payments quickly. And equally, if there's a payment date sort of due while somebody's on leave, the platform allows somebody to step in with relative ease, do the valuation on site, get back to the office and process the payment very quickly.
Yeah. And I think it just provides a little bit more of a safety net, because this information starts to speak back to you. So we know when the due date is, we know when practical completion is, we know when these actions are that we've set in meetings. And now we've got that safety net to, you know, because we're all spinning plates. There's a lot of projects on, there's a lot happening, and getting it to speak back to you just allows the surveyor, again, just to sort of crack on and feel like, yeah, I can get on with my job, and it's going to tell me when this stuff is coming in.
Yeah, and I think it does highlight as well, the platform's got a cash flow forecast built in. So, you know, the current economic conditions, number of contractors going to administration, it does help potentially spot issues early on in terms of if payments are falling behind the forecasted cash flow. It does highlight that and allows the surveyor to stop, think and take action.
Yeah, that's it. And another thing I kind of like about it, especially around the dashboards, because we're starting to see a move in the market. Traditional reports are going nowhere, but there are like these dashboards that we can provide clients, which gives that information quite easily, as in like they can digest it quite easily, because it gives, like, for instance, it will have a program, your program, plan program versus real program on site, and then your interim payments and what your cash flow versus what's paid. Now, if the progress is less, the interim payments are less, the client can see that and say, I know exactly what's happening there. Whereas before it was sort of typed out over half a page, and you know, you have to remember, they're not surveyors. You know, they don't need a surveyor to sort of tell them.
You're interpreting data, and it's a good visual tool.
That's it. And the more they can take in on a snapshot, and you can tell them exactly what's happening, I think they just appreciate that a little bit more than, you know, a 50-page report, which when I was in practice, no one used to read. Maybe they skim it after, but, you know, executive summary straight away, and then, you know, they'll skim it after.
Even some of our smaller projects, you know, some of our smaller projects are often the more complicated projects, and the ones where actually there's more issues, and sometimes it goes back to maybe, you know, not having the correct documentation in place, which the platform, it's got a risk register function. So even if there's only, you know, 3 or 4 items on that risk register, again, it just, I think, gives the surveyor focus on some of the key project risks.
100%, yeah. Tom, from your perspective, what sort of 5 key points of why AG Connect was implemented?
I thought this might crop up today, so I've actually come quite prepared and made some notes. So I think the first one is, you know, clients are never in the dark about progress. They've got real-time access to the platform to dial in from anywhere in the world and pick up on the latest project risks, the latest actions, the latest interim payments, and all the, you know, project financials and key information. So I think that's the first sort of benefit we've seen. I think it takes away, secondly, some of the stress. You know, we just never miss information now. Everything is there in one place. So I think my third one would be, I think with the platform, it takes away the frustration of probably historic bottlenecks that we possibly had in terms of turning around information, or clients asking us for a copy of that file or a copy of those minutes, which, like I say, we may well have issued.
Or you're in, like you said earlier, you're in the car and you can't get to it. You know, they can just it just removes that bottleneck, right?
Yeah, they might be stepping into a board meeting, and you can say it's on the portal. Look in that folder.
Yeah, done.
So that's been a real benefit. I think the next sort of benefit we've seen is consistency in information. we've already talked about it, but historically, we used a lot of Excel sheets. There was scope for surveyors to delete formulas or introduce typos or just, get a digit wrong. With the new system, everything's automated, cuts out all the errors. If there are changes to JCT contracts, for example, the suite gets updated instantly, and that carries right through the platform. Whereas historically, we'd have to probably change 10 files.
How many documents is that? If you if you do a brand change or something like that, it's like 200 documents you're looking at. Aren't you?
Yeah. There was all that, and then companies like ourselves have probably got ISO accreditations.
Yeah.
And then you've got to update your ISO system, so it's just taken away that pain.
Yeah.
And then I think the final sort of benefit we've seen is probably our clients who've got multiple portfolios and properties that we're working on simultaneously. Like I say, it used to be quite painful, looking in several files, pulling together reports. Now, literally, assuming all our information is up to date, variations have been logged. At the click of a button, we can press a progress report, and it can be with the client in 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Like, that's a lot of sort of power to have, because I've been on calls where people just say we just don't do it because it's just so difficult doing that manually, because of the time that you're going to have to provide to build this picture, and then there's a lot of sort of ambiguity in there in terms of, is the figure right, has it changed, where's the line in the sand? Whereas if you can just press the button and say this is exactly what's happening, there's a lot of power in that.
Real-time reporting is becoming an absolute must for clients. How does the platform facilitate that?
Yeah, great question. So the way we sort of tackle this is we do it in a three-pronged, basically. So we keep it traditional. So you can still do your monthly cost report, all of that stuff that you've been doing for, 20 odd years that clients like, you can still do. You can do dashboards. So you can print out dashboards, but then you can also give them the live portal like AG Connect, right? And what that enables you to do is supplement information month on month or immediately. So things that change or elements that you want to show the client, they've got access to that information live, where traditional consultancies will just do that on a month-on-month basis. And I think, we're now in an age now, you used to get a monthly bank statement, right? And you had to wait to the end of the month before you could find out what you spent and all that sort of stuff. That is, the world's moved on now. The thought of doing that is insane, isn't it? Yeah. So you want to know, you want to log in, you want to see where you're at, and these are big ticket items. These projects are worth millions and millions of pounds, and to sort of ring fence that and keep that from just month on month, I think, the industry's, it's changed now. It's not really like that anymore, and we're seeing it a lot more. It's coming through from our clients, their clients of, what portal do you have, what tech do you have to enable me to see this information. Yeah,
absolutely. I had a client a couple of weeks back who actually rang me, and we'd worked on multiple properties for this client. They had a portfolio last year which we helped them refurbish, and they rang me just to sort of check what retention figures were being held on each of the projects. And like I say, historically I would have had to go into the folder, look at each payment certificate, jot it down, type it on an email, whereas actually I was able to just direct that client to the portal and the dashboard, and they had that information there and then.
That's perfect. That's what you want, isn't it? Like, the client's happy, then they've got the answer within 10 minutes. They're not, the bottleneck's been removed. Your time's obviously very valuable. Doing that is just on no one's repertoire. No one wants to do that. So everyone's won in that situation, and I think that's what's great about it.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Saved me, literally, probably would have taken me 2-3 hours to do that exercise.
Yeah. And, you're a director at a company, it's not, you've got stuff to do. You've got your billable rate, you've got opportunity costs, all of that. You pay for it in terms of time. And I think that's a key element, is like, people say, oh, we don't pay for a cost report now, but you do. You pay a day, which is whatever your billable rate is per day. So you're paying £1,000 for a cost report for you to produce it. And ESTA will do that at a click of a button. And that's where the efficiencies come in, and you get the savings.
I say this to our clients all the time, but ultimately we're charging you for our time. however big or small the project is, we're constantly just looking at how many hours is that going to involve.
That's what it's built up of, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
So Tom, in terms of the market, what do you think the top 3 things are to look out for in project management in 2025?
Good question. Lots going on at the moment. I think one of the key things we're probably going to see going forward is probably further change to sort of the Building Safety Act regime. Everyone's still getting to sort of grips with what it means. Whilst it's been implemented at present, there still is secondary legislation still filtering through. So
Sure.
I think we'll see some changes there. But ultimately as well, things will go wrong on projects, and we'll probably need to unravel a few of those projects to sort of find out the things that we need to be doing differently still. And I think some of that will come down to sort of like change control and things like that, and exactly what that means for the industry.
Sure, yeah.
I think we are working in a very tight sort of labour pool at the moment. There is a shortage of building
Everyone
surveyors.
knows it. Yeah, there's a shortage of surveyors.
So AG have got a challenge to retain and recruit. I think the platform is a good selling point on worse, talking to graduates about this is what we do and this is how we do it and these are the tools that we use. I think that's a really good thing to discuss at interview stage.
Yeah, it's a good draw for young, because they're grads and they're going to be good with tech, and they're going to like all that.
Yeah, AI and all things like that.
Yeah,
ultimately nobody wants to be sat there spending hours and hours doing contract administration.
No,
it's necessary and needs to be done right, but if we can reduce that time, then great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another key point on that is, we've only got a limited pool of people. There are a number of surveyors that we can dip into the market for. And if the company wants to become more profitable, how do we become more profitable? Is that we can do our processes better and more efficient, so we can earn more margin and do more value-based activities, rather than just keep having to dip into the labour pool to get more work or to resource projects. If a surveyor can handle 10 projects with ESTA and they can only handle 5 in a traditional manner, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. It's it's tough out there at the moment.
Yeah, it is hard, and I think we all know that in sort of RSCS know that, and it is tricky.
I've talked about some of the pain points AG are seeing. What would you say are the top 3 common themes that clients are reaching out to you about and looking to solve?
Yeah, great question. I think the top 3 that come to mind, and these come up on my calls quite a lot. You can almost predict what's going to come up. They normally fall into these buckets. So the first one's efficiencies. So I think people understand that Excel has done brilliant to take us to this point. We were sitting around a typewriter and writing stuff out, right? So it's fantastic. But there is more efficiencies to be made by going on. In essence, the software is a database, and what all that means is that we can put an input in and we can map it in 10 different areas. So we can drive the efficiencies up that way. And we spoke about earlier about cost reports. That comes up a lot. No one wants to do reports. We're going from 4 hours doing a cost report to 20 minutes where we're literally clicking a button, writing some commentary, and we can get it out. Again, that feeds into what we spoke about earlier around, everything's just built up on billable time, isn't it? It's just built up on hours. So how can we trim that down so we can replace low value work, copy and pasting information, with high value work of the surveyor's skill set? So everyone's always on the look for efficiencies and how we can drive those up. The second is consistency. So this comes up, in a lot of calls, is how can we make it one united firm rather than individuals deciding to put out their own elements? Because you want to be united in, this is the service we provide.
Yeah.
And it can't be, Jimmy's decided that he's going to use his own cost report, and it's not consistent in our brand and how we deliver it as a company.
Yeah, we had it last week. Somebody changed the logos on a document.
Yeah, there you go. And it's infuriating, isn't it? And we're just given a workflow to say, look, you put your information in. Every time you produce something out of ESTA, it's the same every time. And I think that is key to your brand, and how much trust people put in your brand is that when I come to AG, I know I'm going to get a high quality service and high quality product every time. So that's another one that comes up. And then the last one is sort of visibility. And that sort of falls into two categories. Visibility into operations, as in how many projects do I have on, who's working on the projects, how can I access the information that I need in a timely manner. So again, we used that example about interim payments. You know, Jimmy goes away on holiday, hasn't done his interim payment, no one knows. And then you may catch a default payment notice, for instance, right? With the software and having that visibility, you can now drop in and say, okay, Jimmy's away on holidays, forgot to do his interim payment, but I've got a little nudge on that, and I'm just going to drop in and do it for him. So it's giving you that 360 view and almost like a cockpit to say, this is what's happening here, and I can see across the whole firm, and I can get to this information in 3 clicks. So that's the operational side. And then we spoke about, AG Connect, which is your branded portal of how do we get this information to clients quickly and give them that 360 view, give them the 50 projects that they've got on with you guys, and all the information that they require at that level in an efficient manner. So they're the sort of things that come up.
Yeah, I'd agree with all of that. So Dan, we've had a great relationship over the years. We've managed to get AG Connect up and running. Proved to be a great tool for AG.
Yeah.
For anybody else out there who might be thinking about implementing a digital project management platform, how might they go about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I want to just open up not to just digital project delivery software, but just softwares in general. There's a nice formula that we like to use where what we're trying to do is lower the risk and prove the results. And what I mean by that is don't bet the barn and start buying 100 licenses and stuff like that. You want to understand where you are now, what your business objectives is, because software is just a tool to achieve business objectives. That is it. That may be efficiencies. So cost reports take 4 hours. We want to reduce them to 20 minutes. That's a very clear example. Or we want to be 10% more efficient. That's the yardstick we're aiming for. Then you just grab a subset of people, so 10 people out of a firm of 100, and you say, right, this is what we're trying to achieve. And then you go through and prove those results over a 3-month period. That's what we use, right? So 3-month period. During that time, you'll get to the end of that. And what you should be looking for is a formula. So we put 100 quid in at the top, but we get £1,000 of savings on billable time. And that way, it's a very nice way to scale your software out without being super risky. So we say, right, we've done this with 10 people now. We can easily go to 20 people and we will earn X. And I think that is key. And it gets lost in the noise a lot around buying tech for tech's sake, or no one understands the value of it. So I was on a call the other day and they bought software, and I said, oh, how is it? And they said, oh, I'm not sure where the efficiencies are. And that, that's a huge red flag. You should know exactly how much you're getting out of the software and the value it provides to the firm. And you're basically just trying to bake that in and take that formula and expel it out. So that's sort of my model that we use internally. And I would advise anyone that wants to buy software, if you can do that, I think that's the best way of doing it.
Yeah, we've made mistakes in the past by trying to implement software, and it worked for a period of time, but ultimately we've not had value out of it. So at the start of our relationship, we took very much a soft landing approach.
Yeah. And I think, you just need to, like I say, the business objectives is the North Star, isn't it?
It is.
Consistency. What can we provide for our clients? And as long as that is documented and a before and after picture, then you can start to scale out and you feel good. You may get to the 3 months and say, no, it's not for us, and that's fine as well. But you haven't, gone all blazing in there, and you need to sort of prove the results internally. That's what I would suggest.
And if there is anybody out there looking to implement, as we say, they can speak to yourself? Yeah,
drop me a line, dm@framesolutions.com. Or they can go on our website. There's a few videos of how the software works, and just reach out.